Hi, everybody. Welcome back to AP Human Geography. I'm Mr. Latimer,
I'm still Dr. Scoggins.
and today we're going to go over skills 1.3 and 1.4. You will, at the end of this video, be able to explain the geographical effects of decisions made using geographical information and define major geographic concepts that illustrate spatial relationships. So I want to start off just showing you guys this map. It was a map made by a guy named Erathastides. It's one of the oldest maps we have. It comes from the year 220 BC. The guy who made this Erathastides was from Greece. If you can see my mouse pointer, Greece is here. What you'll notice about this map is that there's a lot of detail around where Erathastides was from because he spent most of his time there, and there's a lot of detail. You'll also notice that Greece is bigger than it should be. Greece is bigger than Italy in this picture, which is not accurate. But what you're also going to notice, the further away you get from Greece in this picture, the less detail you get. If you look over here, this is supposed to be India. India looks like a rectangle. In reality, India looks like a Dorito chip. England is for some reason sideways. Africa does not look like this.
I like to imagine as he's making this map, he just drew a line.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what?
This is such an arbitrary line too. It's like, and there's just because he writes mare, which means it means water, like ocean.
So I guess that's
Yeah.
supposed to be Africa.
Yeah, this is Africa.
Just Libya.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then like Russia up here is just called Scythia because that was the people who lived there, the Scythians. Anyway, we're getting off topic. But the point is, when you make a map, you put a lot of your own values and beliefs into the map you make. You don't even realize you're doing it. And that's what Erathastides did. Now, what I want to show you guys is the Mercator map again. We talked about this in the last lesson. So this is what the Earth looks like in reality, but also remember every map is wrong. Every map is distorted.
It's a lie.
It's a lie. Every map is a lie. So remember, Greenland is not this big. Neither is Antarctica. They're both a lot smaller. Greenland is actually the size of Madagascar, and Antarctica is about the size of Australia. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, skill 1.3, the power of geographic data. This is a really simple skill. All you need to know is that the government and companies collect geographic data, and they use it to help find solutions to problems. They collect data specifically from GIS and the census. Remember, they're not going to collect from GPS because that just tracks things. GIS tells you information about like temperature and elevation. The census data is super important. I cannot emphasize that enough. The census data tells you about demographics, which is a fancy word for population. We can specifically look at things like age, ethnicity, gender ratio, income, but we can also look at the changes in physical geography. We can do that with GIS because GIS just takes a snapshot of the ground and we can look at changes over time. And we can see how sea levels have risen or fallen, how rivers move, how pollution has changed things, and how land is just being changed in general. You can see cities expanding, farms being converted into neighborhoods. I want to show you guys this picture. This is an ethnic map of Dallas, and it's drawn, colored by zip codes. The blue on the map represents white people. The orange represents Hispanic peoples. The green represents African Americans, and the red represents Asian peoples. Now, this map is very telling in multiple ways. What you'll notice is that if you follow where my mouse is pointing, this is kind of like the boundary of Dallas. You'll notice that the major cities in America, Dallas is very good at representing America in terms of how things go. Most major cities in America are mostly populated by minority peoples, such as Hispanics and African Americans. The northern half of cities are usually populated with white people. And that goes back to segregation when there were white parts of cities and black parts of cities. That has no longer been the case. However, it's called de facto segregation, where people naturally will populate themselves amongst their own ethnic groups.
You can also argue that it's economic segregation.
It is economic segregation as well, because the northern half of cities have usually been the most expensive parts of the cities. And due to the socioeconomic situation in America that often ends up with mostly white people ending up in the north half of cities. But that's not always the case. You will find minority peoples who live in the northern half of cities as well. What I also want you guys to take notice of is there's not that many red spaces in this map, but where there are, they're very concentrated. Like this part of America, Dallas is called the Colony. There's a lot of Asian people who live up there. You can kind of see the bottom of it. But this area up here is called Plano. That is a very heavily populated part of Dallas, the Dallas region, which is full of Asian people. A lot of good Asian food, a lot of culture. It's very specific to Asian communities. The reason why this happens is called ethnic neighborhoods. When you move to a new country, it's hard to get acclimated, and it's natural for you to want to be amongst people of your own ethnic group because you share religion, you share language, values, and you know to trust them automatically. It's very difficult when you go to another country to find that trust with these people you don't know, you don't have a shared history with. All right. Anything else you want to add to this?
That's a very specific and very what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that's a well-rounded explanation. Just remember that within this type of map, just as Mr. Latimer says, most ethnicities are going to live with each other, but this is it's going to change over time.
Yes,
especially as economics change. Mr. Latimer, I do have a question.
Yes.
In a city, where is your industrial belt going to be located, north or south?
Usually in the south, and it's also usually located near the downtown area.
Very interesting.
Yes.
We're going to talk more about this in unit
seven
a million from now, but just remember that this is the makeup of, at least for us locally, Dallas.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's do this again. Spatial concepts. So again, spatial just means space in relation to one another. Okay. It is very important. Location. Absolute location is going to be the absolute place, the coordinates, the longitude, latitude, where you are in the world at that time. If I was to put in to my phone a restaurant near me and I want Italian and I find Luigi's, Ristorante or whatever they call it, I'm probably going to go there. It will tell me exactly where it is and how long it's going to take me to go. The relative location is going to be using directions. So these are reference points. If you look at these two maps, not maps, I guess a map, pictures. The one on the left is going to be, the Earth divided up with latitude, longitude lines. The equator, of course, is going to be the center, east-west, and then the prime meridian, north and south, center, right? Yeah. And with that, we get certain numbers, and these numbers will determine exactly where you are. The center picture is going to be the satellites that are spying on. That are showing everything that we're supposed to be, where we are. The picture on the right, though, is great. That's relative. So if I live in the house with the blue roof,
right,
and I tell my friend that lives in that house in the, okay, well, let me flip it. If I live in the house with the red roof and I have a friend that lives in the house in the blue roof and I'm trying to tell my friend how to get to my house and I don't know my address for whatever reason, I would tell that person, go down the street, take a left. There's going to be a church and a McDonald's at an intersection of weird way. And then you can either go straight down weird way or take a right. The point is, I'm giving you a relative location. I'm kind of giving you directions. Now, another thing I tell my students, if I gave you an absolute location, an address, I don't know, it would take you a lot quicker to get to that space because you could put the information in GPS and it takes you exactly where you're supposed to go. The relative location is going to take you a little bit more time, especially if I'm vague and have no idea what I'm talking about. Take a left at McDonald's. You'll see a weird building. These are reference points, but they may not make any sense to you, but they make absolute sense to me.
Yeah.
So,
all right, distance decay. Distance decay is based off an idea called Tobler's law, which is
Tobler.
Tobler. Tobler's law states that when places are close together, they have more things in common. Distance decay is the same thing. However, it's based off the opposite idea, which is when you get further away from each other, you're going to have less in common or less interaction. I've also seen it written as a negative relationship. I don't know why you need to know that, but negative relationship, it's not good.
That just sounds. If I was to walk up to you and said, "This is a negative relationship," I'm not thinking geography.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of social interaction.
right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right. There's lots of examples of distance decay. The one I like to tell is the story of the Spanish and the Romanian languages. They both sound very similar. They're both part of what's called the Romance language. Because at one point, most of Southern Europe was part of something called the Roman Empire, and they spoke Latin. The Roman Empire fell apart for many reasons, which we'll not get into. And the peoples there continued to speak Latin. However, they stopped communicating with each other because the security system of the empire had vanished. So all the peoples kind of just remained by themselves, isolated from each other. And the Latin language broke up and became a bunch of different things like Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian. All these languages used to be Latin, but because of the distance between each other, their languages evolved and became something different. Another example could be when you guys move out of your parents' house when you're 35. I don't know.
35.
And you will start doing things on your own. You're going to be different from your parents because you don't have your mom or dad there nagging on you to like clean your room or don't eat pudding for breakfast. So you're going to start doing whatever you want. And that's the distance away from your parents that's causing you to behave differently. That's what distance decay is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Time, space, compression. Okay. This is a very, very simple concept, but a lot of students get very concernicus. I like that. Time, space, compression. All it means is that what used to take a long time to do something is now a lot faster because of something called technology. Okay. Now, for these purposes, the world is getting smaller. Is it physically becoming smaller? No, it's not. However, it is becoming smaller because of technology. An example that we give is, again, Houston and Dallas.
Yeah.
254 miles, which is in what location? That's going to be more absolute, right?
Yes. That's relative distance.
Relative distance. Good. Yeah. It will take you 83 miles.
83
hours to walk it.
That's without stopping to pee or sleep or eat.
Or you'll be dead.
You'll die.
However, if you fly, due to technology, it takes you an hour.
Yeah.
Another example that I give, it's a long-winded story, and my students know it very well. And if you're one of my students right now and you're listening to this, you're going to hear the story again. Suppose you are living in the 1830s, a long time ago, and they don't have something called an internet or anything that's remotely interesting like flight. And you want to have a conversation with one of your good friends that lives in Sweden, but you live in Dallas. What you'll have to do is travel to a port city, get on a boat, sail across the ocean, hope the boat doesn't crash and, sink. If it does, then you're on an island and hope that you get picked up somewhere. Takes you several months, or it could be several years. And eventually you make it to Sweden. You knock on your friend's door and you realize that your friend died of cholera. Sad. Cholera, by the way, is like
diarrhea.
It's a diarrhea, but you die from it because of dehydration. It took you all that time in order for you to go talk to your friend. Okay, the idea is the Earth is a very large place at this time. Today, if you want to talk to Sven, your friend from Sweden, you like that? Say that 5 times fast. If you want to talk to that person, do you get on a boat and hope that it doesn't sink and you get stranded on an island and all these things? No. You can either fly, can't drive because
there's no cars,
ocean.
Yeah.
But you could also do something called getting on your phones, which you're probably looking at right now. Probably doing the Instagram stuff while you're listening to this. And you could FaceTime him, call him, text him, IM, if they still do that kind of thing. I don't know. What else can you do on the phone? Facebook message, Do you guys still use Facebook? Probably
You
not.
can FaceTime too.
They could
You can
FaceTime.
physically see the person.
But this takes seconds. That's time-space compression. Okay, everything that we are able to do from transportation to communication is shorter because of technology. And it's very important that you guys understand that technology and the progression of humankind technologically is the reason why our Earth is becoming smaller. Again, it is not physically becoming smaller. I always get that one student that thinks, well, I could just jump to Hawaii. No, it's the same size. It's just communication and transportation. It's becoming smaller because of technology.
Yeah. Okay, sense of place. This is a feeling you get when you recognize something. It's not something that can be taught. This is just done through just life experience. Um, okay, for example, we live in Dallas, so this is a very iconic image for us. This is the Reunion Tower. It's a nice restaurant. It spins.
Didn't it go out of
It
business?
went out of business. I've been there. Very, very good food. Very expensive food. When you see religious buildings, at a place, you know what the culture is going to be like when you see it. Like this is Saint Basil's Cathedral in Russia. Um, this tells us a lot about Russia. They have these sloped roofs, which is designed to deflect snow. The architecture is Greek, but at the same time Slavic. It is a church, so we know that they are Christian. And specifically, we can know that they are Greek Orthodox Christian, which is something you guys will learn about in this class. But other religious buildings like mosques and pagodas also can tell us specifics about the culture. So when you see an image of a place, you can detect information from the picture without any kind of words. However, you can also see words in the picture, which also tell you. Like this picture in the middle, we see Japanese letters. I don't speak Japanese, but I'm able to know Japanese when I see it. And that's a weird phenomenon we all have. We can hear a language or see a language that we don't know, but at the same time, we just know what language they're speaking. It's a very interesting thing we have. All right, that's all sense of places. You see a picture and you know what's happening in it. All right, other vocabulary words. This is stuff you should know already as a human being, but we have to go over. Space, like we talked about with spatial, is the physical distance between places. Like we talked about, geography is all about knowing how things have moved between places. So when an idea moves from one place to another, it crosses space, not outer space. This is the literal distance. So how do these ideas move between places? Flow is the literal movement. How is this movement happening? Are people being migrated? Is it the internet? Is it I don't know what else could it be. It's either migration or the internet.
Well, it's very interesting because flow. I, I like how he brought up the internet because that's one thing that is very difficult. Is you physically do not have to go anywhere, but your ideas can go somewhere due to the internet.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a movement. That's a flow. It does travel space.
Yeah.
Okay, again, going back to Spin, your friend in Sweden.
Yeah.
You could text him. You can give him information. You can send a video, a meme, whatever. That is a movement. That is a flow. You are transmitting information from one place to another. Migration just doesn't have to be. Well, migration always has to be with humans, right?
Yeah.
Or animals, if you're taking biology or some other class like that. But culturally speaking, ideas can move through flow as well. The movement of something, okay, and the pattern is something that is reoccurring, something that you can definitely determine. This is happening a lot, so we should probably figure out what that pattern is.
Yeah. And with anything you learn in this class, there's three things. Anytime you learn a vocabulary word or a concept, there's three things you should ask yourself. Okay, what is it? Like the definition. Where is it? Like, where is this event happening? And then the last question you should ask yourself is, who cares?
Nobody. Well, I mean, I guess some of us can.
And that is it for today's lesson. And we will catch you guys next time.